If you want to start importing from China to build a business in India, this episode is going to be a masterclass where I'm going to sit with Jatan Bawa, who is the founder of Perfora, to understand exactly how they went about designing their product, finding the right factories in China, later on assembling the product in India, listing it on marketplaces, and building a business that today does about 100 crores of annual revenues. Stick around. How did you go about sourcing your toothbrushes? Because it's an electronic product. I'm just assuming a lot of electronics essentially originate from China.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shenzhen, 90% of the world's electronics come from Shenzhen. So did you go look at designs which already existed in China or somewhere else in the world? How did you find the factories and what is the process of sourcing like?
To give you a sense, like you mentioned, most electronic products are being manufactured in China. Shenzhen, which is a city in China, is a hub of electronics manufacturing. Now, what happens, right? When you have to get a electronic product manufactured, typically there are two parts. I'll just explain the process. One is the plastic part, and second is the technology part, right? For any audio product or a hygiene product like electric toothbrush, or a personal grooming product, which is hair styling, or for that matter, a home cleaning appliance, etc. So there's a plastic part and there's a technology part, the motor part of it, right?
Correct.
Now, the plastic part is usually there's something called as injection molding, right?
Correct.
Which is what gives the plastic the shape, and that has to be custom designed. So people will sort of engage an industrial designer. He'll create the design. Then you'll do some 3D prototyping. You'll see, okay, this is fit for manufacturing. You'll sort of embed the motor, integrate the motor. You'll see if the product is working fine or not. And if you like the design, you'll sort of go ahead and place the order for mold. Now, this mold creation process is a very expensive process, and that is why a lot of people end up just white labeling and sourcing what is already out in the market, what already a manufacturer has created in China. So if you're typically in a trading business, you'll pick something which is already out there,
white label it,
white label it, put your brand, if in case you're putting your brand out there, and you'll start selling it, right? That's how all the smartwatches, audio products, earphones, etc. All the electronic products which we end up using and consuming day in and day out are being manufactured. Now, in this case, we figured out that to launch an electric toothbrush and invest in a mold and create a unique design, it's a tentative cost of anywhere between 20 to 35 lakhs. Depends completely on the technicalities and the intricacies of the mold and the design. We knew that we can't sort of undergo this process, so we have to figure out a way. Now, we figured out a design again which was very unique, which was not being sold in the Indian market, which is actually not being sold globally anywhere. And we spoke to the manufacturer and told him that we need this design. We'll take the exclusive rights. We'll sort of sign on a piece of paper and give you an X number of volume every year for the next 3 years, so that this can continue to remain proprietary to us. We just don't want to invest in the design making process because one, it's time consuming. Second, it's expensive. And third, we don't have the confidence if we can even sell, if we make that, buy and like ballpark 30 lakh investment on day zero. So yeah, I think that's the route that we took. We signed the document, and in some way or form, the manufacturer is also charging, and he disclosed it to us. It's not that this was not disclosed. Some sort of a design fee with the every product being manufactured, right?
So it's kind of just a portion to those many number of units. If he's investing on it upfront, he's added like a variable cost to each unit so that he can recover that cost from you. But okay, I'll step back a little. How did you find the supplier? Like today, if anyone sitting in India wants to start a business in electronics and realizes that, okay, I will have to source from China. As of now, I don't have an option.
Got it.
What do you think should be the first step for anyone who wants to do this?
Got it. So I'm going to sort of reverse this question a bit.
Sure.
Let's consider you can't travel to China, because that was the case with us, and traveling to China to some extent requires some capital, right? On tickets, on stay, on visiting vendors, etc. Because they are going, like, you're nobody for them, right? So you have to make each and every expense on your own. So let's consider that you can't travel to China. If you were to do this, what I'm trying to understand, what all avenues exist for someone who's willing to start, because I'm going to talk about something that most people don't know. So I just want to understand from you, how would you do it if you can't travel to China?
If I can't travel to China?
Yeah.
I mean, I come with a bias that I've been to China multiple times and I do know a bunch of people there. But if I had no context,
Yeah.
there's certain online sources where I can really get in touch with people. One is, as I mentioned, madeinchina.com.
That's a website. Yeah.
That's a website where made hyphen
I'm aware.
in
Yeah.
hyphen china.com.
Similar
For the
to
broader
Alibaba.
audience. Correct. Similar to Alibaba, which is not banned in India, so you can access it. There is hktdc.com.
Yeah.
Then the Canton Fair actually lists all its vendors on its own website where you can kind of look at a portfolio and stuff like that. I would go on these places, select the category where I want the vendor. I would look at all the vendors who are listed. I would start shooting them emails with a brief on what kind of MOQ product am I looking at and are you someone who will be able to supply. I could also go to importyeti.com where a lot of the US based D2C brands essentially their entire sourcing infrastructure in terms of the vendors who supply to US companies are listed and you can see what kind of shipments are they sending, how large a supplier they really are, there are contact details. So I would pull out all of this information. I would realize that as a no name brand or someone wanting to start today, if I shoot emails to 100, maybe 15 will reply and maybe 4 or 5 will be relevant leads for me to kind of explore further. So first I would do this. Second, I would find someone in my founder network who could send me like a WeChat invite, download a VPN, get in touch with them, and through that WeChat, try and then get in touch with all these founders on WeChat and then all these suppliers in China on WeChat and figure out whether they'll entertain my MOQs and stuff. That would be the starting point. But I understand if I've never had any interaction with China, that would also be very intimidating for me because I'm like, okay, do I even trust this guy? How do I send payments to him? How do I get to test the product? How do I get the shipment in? And my lead time is going to be like really large. And the investment to go to China, I know for two people would be anywhere between 2 to 3 lakhs. It can be done for about, say, a week or so. And I would say it may make, if I have that kind of capital, 2 to 3 lakhs, I might as well just go down to a Shenzhen or a Guangzhou. Shenzhen in the case of electronics. And just go to the retailers, go ask to be seeing around, visiting their factories and taking it from there. That's my broad answer, but I'd love to know how you did it.
Got it. No, I think you've covered pretty much all. And considering the fact that we can't travel to China, and that was the case with us.
Correct.
So there are a lot of sourcing companies out there.
Correct.
Right? You get in touch with them, you give them your requirement, and they'll sort of do the groundwork for you.
Absolutely.
And they're really well connected with the ecosystem, manufacturing ecosystem in China, and they'll help you source the products, etc.
That's right.
What we did was what to some extent you mentioned. Instead of using an import Yeti, we used something called as Volza, which is again
correct, but it's a paid database.
It's a paid database, and we had access to that. It's not
great.
Too expensive.
Yeah.
But what happens, as far as I know, import Yeti is mostly about US.
Correct.
Right? Volza covers pretty much the entire world. Right?
And Volza is based out of India.
Yeah.
So it's more relevant to the Indian.
Yeah. No, but they also have access to a lot of US import data.
Absolutely.
What we wanted to do was, we were very clear, and I was very clear, that we want to work with a manufacturer that's not currently supplying to India. That we can test, because if they're not sending any shipments here in India. Second, what this helps us do, when we're looking at the import data for, let's say, a US country, who's the manufacturer supplying to XYZ brands, you're able to establish some sense of trust and some sense of quality, right? So, like, for example, if Walmart is sourcing from a factory in China, which they are, Walmart will have a very strong QC process, quality control process, right? So you're very assured that this manufacturer
knows the QC process of a Walmart and can deliver the same quality to you because their system has been built to comply with it.
Correct. So quality is taken care of. Second thing that also comes into picture, when you're working with a Walmart, you will know the factory will have a bunch of people who can speak in English. So that gets sort of taken care of. That language is taken care of, quality is taken care of, and then that this manufacturer is doing business in certain volume, because Walmart will also not work with a very, very small factory out there, right? So they can handle volume and scale. So that's how we figured out a short list of
But
people.
then that's also something that goes against someone who's a young brand, is because if they're already supplying to a Walmart, they would also have much larger MOQs, and these kind of factories are not always interested in like
But
working with smaller brands, right?
yeah, no, perfect. I think you've picked up on the right point. But one thing that I mentioned, we were very clear that this company should not have any business in India, this manufacturer, right? The pitch that we had, that India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. It's a market waiting to be disrupted. If you want a entry into this market, we are going to be the
Got it.
people, right?
Got it.
And that is why, typically the MOQs, at least for electric toothbrush, when you're looking at some proprietary design, unique design, a bunch of different customizations, because we had also made certain changes in the product in terms of the modes that we wanted, the bristles quality that we wanted, etc. Is usually anywhere between 6 to 10,000 units, but we got it down to about 1,500 units, right?
Okay.
Because of the India pitch that
So they were willing to kind of invest in getting access to one more market.
Yeah, they're willing to invest and they're willing to open up the new market, and this was like an inbound inquiry for them, right? They didn't have to do any business development effort for this, right? And of course, India is a big market, people know about it globally, and like we were also looking at larger companies in the US who were sourcing from different manufacturers, but we were also looking at I would say not really small D2C brands, but mid-scale brands who their manufacturers were in China for similar set of products, right? So that's how we identified a very high quality manufacturer for our first product. They also are based out of Hong Kong. They have a global team, so they're very professionalized in the way they would communicate. Their agility and their willingness to work with a young brand and especially open up a new market. So I think a lot of things came together, and we decided that and we would do video calls. We would sort of evaluate what kind of factory setup do they have, what kind of people do they have in R&D, what does the production line look like. So we did all of those virtual tours on Zoom calls, etc. For example, if you typically try and work, if you send out 100 emails and 15 people end up replying, out of 15 I'm pretty sure 12 people are going to, the first thing they will say ki X amount is required to ship any samples, right?
Correct.
Which is the standard procedure, that we can't give any samples for free, right?
Correct.
But in this case, in our case, the manufacturer is more than willing to, okay, hey, I'll send you my products, because we're not even spoken about samples till first 3 meetings or so, right? We're just purely doing the storytelling. We're selling our background, we're selling the India story, we're selling the vision that we had, and they were like convinced, and they're like, okay, we'll send you like a bunch of different samples, take a look at it, and we were very clear in the kind of brief that we wanted, the kind of product that we wanted. So that's how we ended up finalizing the manufacture and then eventually launching the product.
Wow, wonderful. So you've also touched upon 2 points that I wanted to get on next, which is you've touched upon sampling, which is going to be a big part, because if you're not going there, you would need samples to come in and test it out. And then the second is MOQs. The third is quality control. So let's talk about sampling. When this vendor sent you samples, was there only one vendor that you kind of it was serendipity, you got lucky that the vendor you spoke to, you identified, it worked out, or did you evaluate like multiple vendors? And then
we evaluated multiple vendors. I remember.
How many would you have spoken to?
We would have spoken to about 20-25, and we would have received samples from 8, 9 or probably 10 people. So yeah.
And was there like a clear differentiator to say out of these 8, 9, 1 or 2 are clearly standing out, or do you think most of those factories were pretty much the same in quality and
No, they were like, we were able to visually identify the differentiation in the product of what we wanted, right? So for example, unless we get the samples, we will not really get to know what the product actually looks like, right? Like I mentioned, we were very clear we wanted to do a lot more like an ergonomic, sleek design, which is travel friendly, etc. Like out of the samples that we would have received from 10 odd manufacturers in the early days, 5, 6, 7 were not even there in terms of what we were looking at, right? So they were sort of eliminated because the product criteria didn't meet, right? So we only had 2, 3 left, and then we had to do more conversations to understand about their quality control, about their R&D, about their willingness to work, about their willingness to reduce the MOQs, about their willingness to make changes on the product, right? We
Correct.
wanted to launch ASAP. We wanted to launch an MVP, test it out, and then come back to the go back to the manufacturer and say, "Ki, what are the things that we need to improve?"
Got it. So you said that the MOQ initially is close to about 10,000 and you could bring it down to 1,500. Is that correct?
So 6,000 to 10,000, that's the range. Again, depends on, a lot of things. What is the product price? Because everybody is also looking at the entire PO value,
Correct.
right? In dollars, right? They're not looking at number of units. They're looking at whether it is worth the effort or not,
So
right?
tell me, for you, the brush, an average brush today, what is the selling price and then how much does it cost the manufacturer to make? I would assume it would be like a COGS of 25% on the selling. I'm
Yeah.
taking a wild guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, that's fine. But for us, back then when we started, the brush costed about $4 ex factory,
Okay.
right? Back then, the exchange rate was also 75. So
Correct.
that means about 300 ex factory.
Okay.
Another 200 we'll add on the shipping, custom fees, logistics, GST. Another 200 to 50 odd rupees. So landed, that brush would cost us about 550 odd rupees.
Oh, so that's, but is that economic still true? Like in the sense when you're bringing in electronics from China,
Yeah.
my working with certain
Yeah.
other industries and not worked on importing electronics has been that typically if it costs say 100 ex factory in China, for you to bring it to India would cost about 170, like to your factory. Is that true
That
for your product as well?
But that also depends
On the volume, on the
mode of
custom,
shipping.
on the mode of shipping. I'm assuming you ordered it through ship and not by air.
By air.
By air. Oh,
Yeah.
so which is
So-
why it turned out to be costly.
Yeah, and like sea time is about 45 odd days.
Yeah.
We were in a hurry to launch. We
Hmm.
wanted to launch fast. We wanted to test the market fast. I didn't want to wait 45 odd days or maybe
Makes
50
sense.
days to just for the product to be in transit, and the volume was very small, right? Like I said, 1,500, 2,000
Correct.
odd
So it
units.
makes sense to just get it by
Yeah,
air.
and toothbrush is a relatively lightweight product, right? Like a box is generally
So the
about-
volume is low
Yeah.
and the weight is low and it'll come.
So that's why it was slightly expensive for us. But to give you, if the product is costing about 100, 170, so one is a function of custom duty,
Correct.
right? For us, in our case, the custom duty
So in a lot of
blended-
cases comes at 150 is it 100 is the price in China that you negotiate. 150 at scale you should be able to have it delivered at your warehouse and you're selling at about 300. So then accounting for all your shipping and your packaging and your taxes and everything, you should be able to save about say 10 to 15% in terms of CM2 is my estimate. But prove me right or wrong, and I'd love to know from your experience what is it coming out to be right now.
So right now it's very different. But back then when we started out, a brush landed would cost us about 550 odd rupees.
Okay,
We
so
were-
300 would be the ex factory cost
Yeah,
and 550 would be
the
landed cost at your warehouse.
with GST.
Okay.
Right? And we were selling the product for about 1,200, 1,250 rupees.
Okay.
So we had a gross margin of about 55%.
So
more
you're
or less.
essentially the ex factory cost in China, you're selling at 4x the price in India.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's what the gross margin profile looked like. Over a period of time, with increasing volumes and a lot of optimization and also changing the mode of shipment from A to C for our bulk orders, the cost has come down from 550 to almost like 350 rupees now. So significant reduction.
Oh wow. I would have thought 300 to 450 would be the benchmark of 100 to 150, right? Like, but wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
And this has happened with the dollar increasing by 20%.
Correct.
So yeah, there's a lot of cost optimization that we've done, and our ASP also, because we also want to pass on the benefits of the price to our customers.
customer.
So from 1,200, we've also come down on the pricing to about 1,000 odd rupees. So yeah, I think that's where we are at. In terms of, CM1 expenses, logistics, shipping, warehousing, those are standard 15 to 20%, right? Pretty much across the board.
Correct.
The biggest variable is the performance marketing cost, right?
Yeah.
And that varies. When we started out, our AOV was about 1,600 rupees, but our CAC was also about 1,200 rupees, right? Now that CAC for us has come down to about 400 rupees and AOV is about 1,000 odd rupees. So yeah, that's how the unit economics have changed.
Okay, but how I also see is that your category, essentially you're selling an electric toothbrush. Are there any other electronics that you're seeing, not necessarily from your category, or any other thing that you, in your visits to China or even otherwise, you felt this is a white space if someone could just trade, white label the product and launch it on like an Amazon or Flipkart or quick commerce. This is a short term opportunity. I don't see too many players here and someone can come in.
I do think there are a bunch of categories.
Okay.
One is at-home coffee machine. I feel there's scope for a lot of innovation, a lot of
Wow.
design play.
And at what price point do you think would be the sweet spot for it to penetrate across India?
For a good coffee machine, which is great design, good functionality, I feel anywhere between 5,000 to 7,500 is really, really good sweet price point. Can also go up to about 10,000. So if I'm looking at launching something in the 5 to 10,000 category, I'm also talking about features that are not really available in this below 5,000 category, and a design that really speaks of premiumness. Sort of will catch the attention of someone who walks into your kitchen, for example, right? So
Got it. Okay, so a coffee machine is great.
yeah,
What next?
health monitoring devices, but I think
Yeah.
that as a category is picking up.
100% it
That
is.
category is very interesting. I'm sure China is doing a lot of work
They are.
on the back end in terms of manufacturing, in terms of technology. I'm sure there is an opportunity in doing something in home appliances as a category. I
Okay.
think there are, like, as millennials sort of buy homes or start building their life when they get married. People are reading up more on what kind of appliances do they want, how is that particular appliance going to add value in their life, etc. So there might be opportunities in the home appliances category. When I was visiting Canton last year, I realized there's a lot of innovations happening in the kitchen and home appliance category, because the quantum of manufacturers talking about innovation, showcasing their products, was a lot more than any other category that I could visibly see.
Yeah,
So
interesting you mentioned that. I remember seeing this little refrigerator looking product. And I was like, okay, this looks like a mini fridge. Is it something that people keep in their office cabins or maybe in their bedrooms? And when I opened the door for that mini fridge, it had a mixer grinder thing inside of
yeah,
it, and it said it's silent, because the big problem is your mom to wake you up in the morning is going to start running the mixie in the kitchen, and you'll just wake up by all the jarring noise that it kind of makes. And this is a silent thing, so you put the mixer inside and you shut it, so it's kind of like a soundproof machine. And I was like, wow, this is fabulous. And if this starts selling in India, I mean, why wouldn't people take it? Another thing I noticed is how you know in home appliances, they said depending on the color theme that you've selected for your kitchen,
yeah,
so they will give you the entire set of appliances, right from a hand blender to a mixer grinder to a microwave and
air fryer,
whatever, air fryer, whatever you
yeah,
need. But if you have a color in mind, so they have an entire color catalog, almost like an Asian Paints,
yeah,
that you pick from, and they'll make all your appliances in that color. So it's like custom color, and they don't do the entire appliance from scratch. They almost have like detachable handle kind of things.
yeah.
So the same color would just be a very easy add-on to the primary machine that they've built, which I thought was amazing, and we don't see in India yet. I also noticed you mentioned something else. I think right before this. Oh yes, in home appliances, I saw there is glass cleaning machines.
Yeah.
And it's such a big problem that for you to clean like glasses in your office and stuff, you'll have like an office peon or someone from housekeeping.
And that's going to increase the problem of glass cleaning, because most of the houses are being built, right? They have these huge glasses, right? People
Correct.
are using less of the cement and walls, right? Like
Correct.
most living rooms, drawing rooms, even bedrooms for that matter, right? You put like big glass panels, right?
Correct.
So I think this is also going to be a very interesting
Yeah,
device.
and quite inexpensive, like starting at 3,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees, where you plug it in, it just gets attached to the glass and it just cleans that entire thing, and you can just shift it to another glass panel and it just does it. And I thought that was amazing. Why don't we see it in India?
Yeah.
But anyway, so these are great opportunities. Now comes the next point, which is because India wants to now do a lot of manufacturing in-house, and they want to reduce dependency on importing technology and such products from China.
Yeah.
Which is why BIS specifications and requirements are coming in across several categories.
Yeah.
Where for public knowledge, the government would say, okay, we've made a set of quality standards, and if you're selling an electronic product or some product in India, you need to get the same SKU and the same design approved under BIS from a lab, and once that is done, you can import it and sell it, provided it's coming from the same manufacturer and as per the same design and the same SKU. And the more SKUs you continue to add, you have to get BIS approvals for all of them, and it's a very costly process as much as I've understood. And I've also seen that, if you as an early entrant go about getting a BIS approval for one product, and you are a small time trader, once that product is BIS approved from one factory, tomorrow any of your competitors can go and just buy the same product and flood the market. So essentially, you've gotten the BIS approval for the broader market and not just for yourself. And for you to sign like an exclusive contract with that manufacturer is going to be you committing a very large MOQ or taking on like a very large order size, which may not be feasible for a lot of people entering in. So for your category, is BIS applicable, and how have you gone about doing it, or it's still not come in?
No. For us, for our category, BIS was implemented earlier this year. We've set up, localized manufacturers here in India who are now starting to manufacture electric toothbrushes for us. So we've actually launched our first India assembled, India made electric toothbrush in the month of August. We've not
Okay.
made a lot of noise around it because
Is the design the same or is it different?
it's the same. Now we have invested in the mold because we've sort of scaled the business to some extent. So it's a smaller cost at the overall P&L, and we know what we can sell and how much we can sell in the next year or so. So it's a similar design, but we've also made certain improvements in the product, made it Type C rechargeable, which is more universal, not battery operated.
Okay.
Similar design, added a couple of more modes, added a tongue cleaner at the back of the brush head.
Okay.
So bunch of product upgradation, and yes, we've set up a manufacturer who's now manufacturing an electric toothbrush here in India. So we're getting ready for the BIS to be implemented in our category. The way it works for everyone who's watching this, there are three models. One, your factory has to be BIS certified, BIS approved, but unfortunately, Indian government is not giving BIS certification to any factory, any manufacturer in China, because
Okay.
their mandate is very clear that they want the manufacturing to be manufacturing to happen in India. What Indian importers are primarily doing, they're either doing an SKD or a CKD. SKD means semi knockdown, CKD means complete knockdown. So if it's a product, semi knockdown would mean that you're importing certain parts of the product which are pre-assembled, but all of them are coming together here on an assembly line here in India. And complete knockdown means that you're going to, if some of the parts are not available here in India from a manufacturing purpose, you're going to import those parts and the entire product will be created here in India. So that's how it happens.
Yours is an SKD product?
For now, as an SKD product, but eventually we're like in the next couple of months or so, we're moving to CKD.
Okay. So what all do you import from China when you're making in India? Can you just walk me through it? Because I do understand that now anyone who wants to import something will have to look at BIS. They will have to find someone who can do assembly in India. What do you think is the playbook they should follow if they're building in consumer today?
So if they're planning to import from China, at least in CKD, which is complete knockdown, the bigger reliance on China or Taiwan is with respect to PCB, which is essentially the technology circuit board that powers the mechanism and the features for your product. That is the bigger reliance. Motor is also to some extent a reliance which is not really readily available here in the Indian market. But apart from that, for our product, everything else is by and large available. So earlier the reliance was also on lithium-ion battery, which is the charging mechanism for a rechargeable product. But now there are Indian manufacturers who are manufacturing lithium-ion batteries. So that reliance is now sort of eliminated. Apart from that, for our products, the plastic component is
Injection molding anyway has been happening in India
Yeah,
for
for a
several
long
years.
time, right?
Yeah, for a
And
very long
even
time.
the bristles, right? So DuPont is the largest manufacturer for bristles, and they
wow.
also have a manufacturing plant here in India, so you can source bristles from India as well. Or like for most of the time period, we've been sourcing the bristles from China because of a certain quality of a certain grade. But now we've been speaking to the company directly if they can sort of make sure either they import the bristles to the India plant and they can supply us, or they manufacture the same quality of bristles here in India.
Okay. So if someone has to, for example, create a product like a coffee machine that we spoke about,
Yeah,
or say something in home appliances, it could be a fragrance machine, a dehumidifier,
yeah,
for whatever purpose. What you would recommend is first they go to something like a Shenzhen. They go to one of those markets just to see what products are available. If they like a product, they request to be taken to the factory and see a broader library. They give a price point at which they want it made in China, X works or X factory, which should ideally be 25 to 30% of the selling price that they think they can aim for in India. Once that is established, you would say if BIS is applicable, they have to import in SKD or CKD manner.
yeah.
Any playbook or reason as to saying that in these categories SKD is better or in these categories CKD is better? How would one take a decision on that? Or is it about costing? Is it about not finding the right guy in India? How do you
It's
take that decision?
it's about the volume of the business, right? So coffee machine is a smaller volume business, so SKD would make a lot more sense because
Sure.
Indian manufacturers wouldn't want to sort of go down the process of creating the entire product from ground up because the volumes won't justify it.
Correct.
So yeah, it is about the volume that the category is doing. If you were selling a smartwatch, CKD is very well possible and doable, and it's being done in our country. But if you're selling a coffee machine, SKD is going to be more
Feasible.
predominant and feasible option. Similarly, if you're selling, let's say, beard trimmers or trimmers in general, CKD is doable because the volumes have really grown in the market.
Correct.
So yeah, I think that's largely the lens to be taken. For any product to be introduced, my always the first sense before even going to figure out what product to do, what enhancements to do, what manufacturer to do, is just understand the consumer pain point, understand what is the consumer willing to pay, how much are they willing to pay. That is one. And second, in the hindsight looking back, now I very strongly recommend that the X factory price should be not more than 20% of the selling price that you plan
Oh,
to
so you're
sell at.
saying have a 5x of a selling price on your X factory price.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's because the cost of advertising is increasing.
Hmm.
The world is becoming a lot more competitive, and you need certain margin profile to really scale the business and really invest in the advertising, right? If you're building a brand, it becomes even more important because you will also need certain dollars to be invested in the on the brand marketing side of things. So having slightly more margin helps, unless you operate in a category which is very high volume, right? So
Correct. So commodities would not get that kind of margin.
yeah,
So high margins would only come if you're differentiated in terms of being a unique product where there is lower competition.
yeah, lower
Perfect.
competition, more niche, trying to sort of sell a better story, better product, you should have a higher margin.
Okay. So 5x is the price of the X factory that you get from
Yeah,
China in India.
yeah,
Wonderful. Now imagine you found that product, you've negotiated the MOQ, and they can do the quality that you wish, and QC is taken care of. How do you find the right shipping company? Like, did you depend on your factory to ship it and you trusted whoever they were taking? Or did you find someone like a custom agent in India to organize shipping for you?
we did the latter.
Okay.
So we found a custom agent here in India who could sort of handle. There are two parts of shipping, right? One is freight forwarding, which is the shipping part, and
Correct.
second part is the custom
Custom
clearance,
clearance,
right?
which the CHA would do.
Which a CHA would do, right? So there are two parts. A lot of companies in our country are able to take care of both. CHA is usually a government appointed licensing thing. So it,
Yeah, more customs clearance focused.
yeah. So like, certain shipping companies would either have connections with CHA or people who are classified to do the clearance process. So they will have them on their payroll, etc., or certain commissioning basis. We took the route of finding a custom agent here in India. We spoke to a bunch of them, understood what the process looks like, how will they do it, what are the timelines, what is the cost. Whoever we could build certain comfort and camaraderie with, we felt, okay, hey, let's go ahead and give this person a chance. So that's how it started for us. If you don't want to go down this route, there is UPS, DHL, FedEx of the world.
But they turn out to be really expensive.
They turn out to be expensive if you're not too worried about the first shipment expense, because eventually you will sort of optimize it down the line. To make it slightly more hassle free, you can give it to DHL, UPS, and they'll take care of it end to end. So that's a standard and an easier process. We didn't go down that route because I have a fair bit of understanding of shipping and custom clearance.
So tell me that you shipped your initial samples through air because you wanted it faster.
Not the initial samples, initial shipment, the final production.
Okay, final production, because you wanted like faster feedback loop.
Yeah.
You wanted to penetrate the market, send it out, get feedback, and then work on the product.
Yeah.
Now at scale that you've been doing it for 4 years, and I believe your revenues are close to 100 crores.
Yeah.
Do you now depend on sea freight because it's cheaper, or the nature of your product is such that it's better for you from a working capital perspective to just continue to kind of get shipments through air?
So it's a combination of both. 70% of our shipments come via sea and 30% come via air. It is a function of planning as well at the back end. How you're able to plan for your inventory, what is moving, the lead time, what is moving, how many inventory days are left, right? If a product is moving really fast and you need the replenishment to happen even at a faster level, you have no option but to go for a air route, because the shipment will reach your warehouse from the day it is picked in about 10 to 15 odd days.
And by sea, it'll be about 45 days.
About 45
So
days.
Through sea, as a thumb rule, it takes 3 times the amount of time to get to you.
Yeah.
And air freight is 3 times more costly compared to sea. Would you say that? Or you've now optimized it to twice?
Yeah, it's about 2 to 2.5 times more expensive air shipment. Yeah, so that's largely what the maths looks like.
Okay, and when you found a freight forwarder or a CHA, would you prefer to get one at the port in, say, Gujarat or Vizag or wherever your product is landing, or did you find someone in say Delhi where you're located and saying that, okay, you take care of all the clearance, and or maybe the goods are coming to the port via sea, but they're getting custom cleared in Delhi? How is it working out for you?
For shipments via sea, the shipment usually lands at Nhava Sheva port, which is in Bombay. But we have a freight forwarder in CHA based in Delhi because of the comfort of relationship and we being able to understand and navigate the process better. Any decent size shipping company or a freight forwarding company would have multiple regional offices. They'll have people on different ports, so they're able to sort of navigate the process accordingly. When a shipment comes, let's say, because we are located in Delhi and our warehouse is also in Gurgaon, the shipment comes on the seaport in Bombay, then it is transferred via rail to Delhi. Delhi has 2 rail ports, which is one in Padparganj and second in Tughlakabad. Then the shipment is custom cleared here. Like first it's custom cleared there, second it is sort of there's something called as OC, out of charge. It's done here in Delhi, and then the shipment travels to our warehouse.
Okay. So, the fact that it comes to Nhava Sheva in Bombay, was that a call that your custom agent took, or was it a function of costing? Because what I figured is a lot of CHAs have their own comfort depending on where their team is located, and they feel that, okay, if the shipment comes to Bombay, I have a team there, I have a relationship, it'll be easier for me to get it cleared there. And if it comes to Chennai, maybe I don't know people there and might just get stuck. So, and it might be cheaper for it to land in Chennai from a freight perspective. So how do you balance out where the shipment is coming? Or you trust the shipping guy, you've given him a target of this is the cost that we can kind of put for this, and you take a call, and as long as you get us the goods cleared in Delhi, we're happy?
We of course checked with the CHA what should be the landing port, because let's say if the shipment is being picked from Shenzhen, how much time will it take? So one is freight part of it. Second is also the connectivity part of it. How soon it can reach Delhi from the landing port, because the final destination for us is Delhi, right? And third is the the costing part of it, which also comes into picture. And fourth is what you mentioned, the comfort of the shipping company. In our case, we happen to choose a shipping company that's fairly large now. When we started, using sea as a shipping mode, and they have like people across all the ports out there. So when we did the maths from at the back end of time, freight, cost, Navashava made a lot more sense.
Okay.
And that's how we said, let's get the shipment on Navashava. It's
Okay.
easier and better.
Would you want to name the shipping company if others could also use their services?
We use a bunch of them. One of the frequent ones that we use is Cargo People.
Okay.
They're very well connected. They do both freight forwarding and clearance.
Okay.
In the past, we have worked with Gina. We've worked with
How do you spell that?
JEENA.
Okay.
We have worked with Movers International.
Okay.
We've worked with Speedlog. So multiple companies of different.
So if people look up Cargo People, Gina, Movers International, and Speedlog,
yeah,
LOG log.
Yeah, LOG.
Okay, wonderful. How much of the percentage of cost really goes in your category towards freight and clearance? So, for example, your product is 300 there. How much is the shipping? You said the landing is now 350 for you at your warehouse.
Yeah.
At a sales volume of 100 crore annualized.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you're essentially procuring 20 crores worth of imports.
No, so for us, our business has a segregation between India
Correct.
and China, right? Because a lot of our products like toothpaste, mouthwashes
is all locally produced.
Is all locally produced.
Okay.
So I would say import volume would be close to about $1 million.
Okay. So 8 crores.
8 odd crores.
So, and one shipment is typically would last you would have 10 to 12 shipments coming a year?
No, more.
More?
So frequency is a lot more.
Okay.
We have about 3 to 4 shipments coming every month.
Oh, so every 10 days?
Yeah.
Okay. So
because it's also a function of working capital, right? China usually works on
correct
advance payments, right? Like
correct.
In India, we are able to leverage credit period from all the manufacturers that we're working with. But in China, it's usually 100% advance. We're able to navigate that, but mostly people who are starting up, in the early days, you'll have to pay 100% advance. So you don't want to block a lot of money by procuring in bulk. You'd want faster shipment so that anything and everything that you're getting is also converting into cash so that you have more capital to be deployed in the business.
So I'm assuming a shipment is roughly about 15 to 20 lakhs for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now 15 to 20 lakhs shipment, what is the X works price and what is the split of say the freight and the clearing charges, just so that people can also build their economics accordingly?
For us, the percentage of freight is about 10 to 15% of the invoice value.
Okay.
And clearance charges are about
50,000 to a lakh.
Yeah, 50,000 to a lakh, which on a 20 lakh shipment would be about 5%.
Yeah,
right?
Sub 5%.
Sub 5%, 2.5 to 5%. Like my what I remember, it's about 3 to 4% actually.
Yeah.
By and large, 3 to 4% is what we'll pay on clearance. Rest is customs duty, for which in our case, in our category, is about 22%, 20% basic customs duty, and 10% welfare surcharge.
Yeah, surcharge and cess on top of it.
On top of the basic custom duty, so that comes down to be 22%, and on top of that, you have to pay 18% GST to the government. So yeah, that's what.
Okay, so you would say that roughly if something is say 15 lakh rupees worth of X works.
Yeah.
The remaining 5 lakhs or 25% more or less of the total landed cost is what you would attribute to 22% being custom duty, another 3-4% of clearance. No, there's also going to be 10-15% of extra of freight.
Yeah.
So you would say if your X works is close to about 13 lakhs, it would land at about 20 lakhs to your warehouse. Is that correct?
No. If let's say if the X works is 10 lakhs, right? Another 10% would be freight, that's 11.
Yeah.
Another 3% would be,
clearance.
The clearance, but that's not, you'll have to account that in your cost. So that's another 30,000.
Yeah.
So that's 11 lakh 30,000. On top of that, you have to now pay, on 11 lakhs, you have to pay 22%.
Correct.
Right? Which essentially means that 2.5 lakhs, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes
So say give or take, it comes to 14 lakhs.
14 lakhs. But on that 14 lakhs, now you have to pay 18%,
Correct.
right? Another 20%, right? So that comes down to another 3 odd lakhs. So 17 odd, yeah, approximately 18, 19 lakhs is what you'll have to end up paying for a 10 lakh rupee shipment. If it's a 13 lakh X factory, you'll end up paying 21, 22.
Correct. So it's essentially it comes to 100 rupees of X works
Yeah.
will come to 170 landed.
Yeah.
So the initial thumb rule that I had in my mind kind of works.
Yeah.
That 100, it lands at 170 at your warehouse.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So we've spoken about what kind of freight forwarders you have. Do you also have an agency who does quality control in China? And how do you ensure they don't collude with the factory in China?
So yeah, we do have a third-party quality inspection agency that goes and inspects our shipments when they're ready to be dispatched. How do we ensure they're not colluding with the manufacturer? I don't think so. I have an answer for this, and
Because you have an established relationship, so now there is trust.
there's trust, and every time they send their guy, we've done certain video calls to just understand what's happening on the ground. The report that they send for QC is fairly visual, because they're going to click pictures, they're going to share videos on what's right, what's not right.
So if someone has to say today find a QC agency, which one would you recommend? Like, what's a good starting point? Do you have a couple that you worked with that you would say maybe look up these agencies and they would have?
I can remember the one that we work with very frequently now. It's called Pro QC.
Pro QC.
Pro QC China, I guess, or if you search Pro QC quality check agent, you'll get the details of the website. They also have an India office.
And how much does the QC cost? Does it come to like 1% or something of the total shipment value, or what is it like?
It is actually a fixed charge. If I remember, it's about $300 per man day for 8 hours inspection, and they will check, I think, the quality inspection will be done for about 5% of the total units that are being dispatched, something on those lines.
So about 25,000 rupees for an 8-hour man day, where 5% of the goods are going to be checked. They're going to make a report and they will send it to you so that you can sign it off and say it's all good to go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful. That's amazing knowledge, and thank you for giving that. Next, how much is the lead time? So when you place an order with your factory, typically what do you expect? 45 days is going to take on C after they produce it.
Yeah.
Does it take them 15 days or 20 days or 30 days? And I understand it depends on the category you're in, but what's the thumb rule for you?
For us, it's about, it's actually on the higher side. It takes about 50 to 75 odd days.
Oh, wow.
Depending on the volume of the order, the customization required, when are we placing the order, right? So for example, like globally, everyone's aware that there is something called as Chinese New Year that happens in end of January to mid of February.
And then the labor is not available for like good 20 days or so.
Correct. So the entire China, like the manufacturing system is a shutdown during that 3-week process, right? 3-week timeline. So if you're placing an order, let's say in December, ideally they should be able to produce it from a 60-day timeline, but they'll say this will be dispatched post the Chinese New Year because there is an influx of order. There's a lot of shipments that they've already planned to be dispatched, right? So again, depends on the time of the year, the volume of the order as well. But ballpark, it takes us about 50 to 60 days easily for an order to be get.
So that means you essentially have to take a 100-day lead time for it to reach you, because
via sea.
Yeah, via sea. So 55 days of just production and shipping from the factory, another 45 days for it to come.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that kind of time, you need it within say 75 days, you would probably say do it by air.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's really a lot of forecasting and being able to predict, and amazing. Next thing, let's look at how do you pay your vendors? How much of it is advance?
Yeah.
How much can you say I'm going to withhold and only after the shipment comes I'm going to pay?
Yeah.
And what banks have you seen have the best facility or are the most proactive when it comes to payments and you've not faced any trouble? And what kind of, you have LC facilities, other facilities that you use in terms of financing all of this?
Yeah.
Just educate me on this.
Sure. So a standard payment mechanism, if you're working with a factory in China, is 30-70, 30% advance, 70% before dispatch. That is when your goods are cleared for pickup from the factory, from the finance department of the factory. Today we work on 20% and 80%, and sometimes 15% and 85% as well. That is one.
Because now the trust is established.
Trust is established, volumes are good, they know that we're not going anywhere, etc. That's one. How do we pay them? We pay them via our banking partners. Most banks in India are able to facilitate this. We have worked with, SDFC, Kotak, RBL. So everyone's fairly good at it. No hiccups as such. Third, what we are using is something called as import financing, right? So the advance payment is done from our bank account, but the balance payment, which is the larger portion of the payment, let's say 80 odd percent, is financed by the bank, and we pay them 90 days later from the payment they've made to the vendor. So let's say if you're getting a shipment via air, we'll get the shipment in 15 odd days, and we'll have about 75 odd days to sell that stock. And once we get the money from that stock, we'll pay the bank, and there's a small certain interest percentage that we have to pay for the financing that is being done by
Typically,
the
that
bank.
cost would be between 9 to 12%, depending on if you're giving collateral or not, or what is it like?
Yeah,
These days?
yeah, it's about 9 to 12%.
Okay, not more than 12% is what you would give.
Not more than 12%. See, there are banks that will charge.
Correct. I mean, financing or when you don't have
uh,
adequate collateral and
yeah,
they're taking that bet on you.
so there are banks that will also charge 15 to 18%. But a good rule of thumb is 9 to 12%. Lower the better. 9% is very, very good. 9.5%.
Yeah, tough to get, but you would possibly have to give your immovable property as collateral to get that.
Or you have to figure out something with your fixed deposits.
Correct.
Etc. So yeah, I think 9.5% is a good rate of interest if you're able to crack that.
Did you have any problem like getting a bank to finance your imports initially, or did you feel there was a threshold only after which you crossed it in terms of number of shipments that you've already gotten over a period of time, that banks actually had the comfort to say, okay, now this business has a balance sheet or a P&L which is large enough for us to fund? Did you see any such threshold in your business?
I think what we saw as a threshold was a function of equity money in the bank account. It's not about the number of shipments or the P&L, the size of the P&L. Even if you're running a 10 crore P&L, but if you have 50 crores of equity money in a bank account, I think that gives them a lot of comfort. You might sort of give them, a fixed deposit of 5 odd crores, and that sort of will make them more assured in their heads that this is a good business or a good client to take on. So that's what we've seen, a very direct correlation with the equity capital.
So they essentially, after you've raised an equity round, they take that money as an FD. They say this is our collateral, and against this FD, we're issuing like a line of credit, and you can keep rotating it. But then those terms I've also seen, they say that when you have less than 12 months of runway left, we are going to we have the right or the power to kind of seize this facility onto you. So do you feel there came like a threshold or something in terms of CM2 positivity, unit economics? Did they even evaluate that to say, okay, now we're taking a bet on the longevity of this business and this category? Because my perception and experience with banks is, no matter how much they say that we're very startup pro and startup focused on getting those startups as customers, essentially they're just banking on you getting equity and using your FD as a collateral, which is not really taking a true bet. And in that case, only say a venture debt fund would essentially come in, and there the cost would be closer to 16 to 18%. So have you used venture debt in the past and then gradually moved on to banks?
Yes, so that's been the journey for us. We started with venture debt and then moved on to banks. But even the way business happens in India, I'm sure you're well aware of this. It's actually a people's driven business, right? So let's say, an XYZ fund putting in the money in your company. If the bank is really well connected with the fund, right, then there is a level of trust that's already established. Even when they're sort of financing the company, they're not taking FD as the 100% collateral, right? It's typically, 30,
70
40
and 30 is what they'll take a bet on you.
Yeah, no, I think it's at least what we are seeing, it's the other way around. So 30-40% of the amount is considered as a collateral, and we are getting exposure of the remaining 60%.
I think it's maybe at your scale, because at about 100 crores you would get it, but I'm assuming someone who's starting off and is at just 10-15 crores also, banks may not feel comfortable taking that exposure.
Yeah, but it is a function of equity money and the how well connected is the fund that's put in the money with the bank that you're talking to,
correct.
right? There is a bit of I would say dynamic nature here, which cannot be put into a playbook. And this is what will happen at this scale. This is what will
Correct.
happen at that scale.
No, you're absolutely right. And when you found like factories in India who could assemble the SKD products
Yeah,
or the CKD products for you,
yeah, yeah.
so how do you go about finding these factories? Do you look at labels of someone who's manufacturing for, say, an earphones brand
Yeah.
or a smartwatches brand and manufactured by, you look at it, you contact them, and then you ask them, can you do toothbrushes for us?
Yeah.
Is that the way to do this, or is there something else?
That's a very common and the first principle way of doing it.
Hmm.
Fortunately for us, there was some inbound interest.
Okay.
People reaching out to us when the entire BIS update and the circular was issued. That if you're looking at this kind of a mechanism or operations, we'll be more than happy to sort of figure things out together. So that's how we went. We didn't have to really go down the route of looking at the back label of another electronic device and reach out to manufacturers. So
Wonderful. So it was an inbound interest and it just clicked, and that
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And these people also educated you on BIS and saying that we can take care of all the quality controls and ensure that your quality doesn't dip because you're now kind of switching over manufacturers and they can
Yeah.
put it together.
Yeah.
Okay, so now your products come with a Make in India label or a Made in India label.
Yes, the one that we've recently introduced in the month of August, that is like now the country of origin on that product is India.
Okay.
Earlier it used to be PRC, People's Republic of China.
Yeah.
So
Is
yeah.
that something which is available for purchase now? Like if
Yeah.
I'd want to
Yeah,
go on your website and will I also see like a Made in India?
somewhere on the product page it's mentioned made in India, assembled in India. That's mentioned.
Okay.
And even the manufacturer's name is mentioned because by
Under law, you're required to
under
mention.
law we are required to mention that if it's being manufactured here in India. So
Has that changed the economics for you?
Yeah,
How much? Like, can you give me some context that
it's
if
about
people
30% cheaper for us.
to do it in India?
Yes, the similar product with more enhancements and modifications that we've done on the product is about 30% cheaper.
Wonderful. So what I'm hearing is if your toothbrushes costed per unit about 350 has landed to your warehouse earlier, today it could be closer to 250, 270.
Yeah.
Is that fair to assume?
Yeah, 270-ish is what we're looking at.
Wow. Now that we've learned everything about how to source from China
Yeah,
and all aspects of the value chain, I also want to come to, it's not as simple as just picking up a product, white labeling it and selling it here, which would be just trading or drop shipping.
yeah.
It's essentially about picking up something and making it your own and building a branding moat around it. So I want to figure out like what has been your playbook towards building a brand.
So we did work with the design studio at the very beginning to get the brand identity, packaging, packaging architecture in place. It's a studio based out of Bombay called Strategy.
Strategy.
Yeah, Strategy. In terms of content, which is the real playbook and the real brand building effort that happens day in and day out, we've done everything in-house. We've learned on the go. Of course, there are certain insights that we played upon, and some of them worked for us and has given us the kind of reach and the kind of brand recognition that we today end up enjoying. But yeah, and there's been a lot of iteration in that process.
Give me
that-
some examples on what kind of content would work for a toothpaste or a toothbrush brand. I'm just thinking. I've not audited your Instagram page, so I'm quite intrigued to see what's your follow count like. What has worked for you so far?
So our follow count on Instagram is about 150,000 plus.
Okay.
That's broadly what it looks like. In terms of content, I think we've been fairly experimental. One key insight early on was we would want to talk to the audience directly. We'd want to put ourselves out there as founders because in our category, nobody knows the founder of Colgate or the founder of Oral-B, and they're not going to be on the camera. Not even the CEO is also going to be on the camera. So we are going to talk about behind the scenes. We are going to talk about what it takes to build a brand, what are the kind of challenges we are facing. That's one. Second, when we appeared on Shark Tank, that was a big jump in terms of our follower growth. I think we had a follower base of about 15,000 or so, but in a post airing 30 days, we had a follower base of about 35,000. And the
So
credit
it's a
goes
100% jump.
it's a 100% jump. The credit goes to the team on creating a lot of pre-buzz, pre-Shark Tank airing, then capitalizing during the airing time period, and then also following it up with post Shark Tank madness, what's happening, what has changed, what has not changed, etc.
Like spike in orders, you would ideally show that and say that
Yeah, in
we're
fact,
overwhelmed. Did you even have inventory at that time to
no, we
deliver?
didn't. We
Okay.
didn't. So we were sold out for about 40 odd days on, especially on the products that we were importing from China. The India supply chain was a lot more agile, and we were sort of able to replenish in 15 days, 20 days time period, because we spoke China timeline is at least 75, 80 days for us.
Yeah.
Then a big jump in our follower base happened when we did something very unique and interesting. We'd organized a spoken word evening event here in Gurgaon, and one reel from that event went viral. This reel was by this creator named Niyab Midha. She'd spoken about Muskurao. So there was some event, like some brand integration around, Muskurana, because smile is an important part of our teeth. And that blew up. I think we were about at 45,000 follower base. We suddenly ramped up to about 80,000 followers.
Wow.
And that reel today, I think, has about 30 million odd views
Wow.
organically. So yeah, I think that was a big jump. Post that, I think every few months something or the other keeps on happening in terms of growing the follower base.
But is it all in-house?
Yes,
It's all
100%.
in-house. So how many people are part of your content team to drive this brand
About
awareness?
three people right now.
Okay. And what is the cost that you would kind of allocate to this department? And I would say salaries plus other costs. Like how much would you invest in doing this?
About 3 odd lakhs a month.
3 odd lakhs, which would be about lakh and a half towards salaries, another lakh and a half towards. Would you say that's a fair breakup?
About 2 lakhs on the salaries, and I think actually the number should be about 4 odd lakhs. So 2.5 lakhs on the salary, and another another 1.5 lakhs on all things content.
Okay. And is even performance marketing something that you would do in-house or kind of outsource to an agency? And I know your answer could differ now at this scale at about 100 crores, but
Yeah.
was it different at some other time?
Yeah, so initially and earlier on, it was a lot more outsourced. Today, 80% of the content for performance marketing is in-house. Like a lot of
Is it a
people.
cost thing, or do you think there is an impact on the ROAS also, depending on, are there any learnings? Are you doing better after bringing it in-house?
2, 3 things. One, it's faster to test and iterate, because performance marketing is very, very dynamic.
Yeah.
What works, what does not work. You have to really, really iterate a lot. Second, people who end up shooting, creating content in-house, they just understand the brand a lot better. They know
Correct.
what to talk, how to talk. They're also looking at metrics real time, I would say. Ki this is working, why this is working, what is the CTR, what is the hook rate, what is the hold rate, what is the conversion, etc. Third, definitely it's cheaper compared to
Outsourcing it.
compared to outsourcing it. So I think these are the 3 reasons why we are doing a lot of content production in-house.
Okay. And what is the contribution of different channels to your sales, just so that we understand how people buying it?
So for us, we're pretty much like a 100% digital only company today. Very small percentage comes from offline, so I'll just sort of skip that. For us, it's actually equally split. 1/3 is our own brand website, brand.com. Another one third is about e-commerce, which includes Amazon, Flipkart, Nyka's of the world. Another 30 odd percent is quick commerce, which is Blinkit, Instamart, etc.
Okay. And are the economics different on each of them? What, according to you, is the most profitable right now? Because while your own brand gives you access to a lot of data, but performance marketing can really skew the economics in such a way that, there are seasons where everyone's throwing ads and the bid rates become really high, and it doesn't really leave you with a lot of money on the table.
Honestly, my answer to this is very different. I don't want to look at the channel level profitability, because that's an incorrect picture.
Hmm.
Today, when you advertise on Meta or, for example, on Instagram or Facebook, we end up allocating the entire ad spend to the brand.com P&L.
Okay.
But in reality, when I'm showing you an ad, right, I'm creating some brand awareness, I'm creating some product
Which
awareness.
is going to lead to sales on Quickcommerce and
Yeah.
Amazon and everywhere, depending on if you're buying, you want to add things to your cart, you might just
Correct.
take up the cart value.
Correct. So what we can't control today, or what any brand can't control today, is where will the consumer shop, right? Because that's a discretion at his or her end.
Correct.
Unless you have a product offering which is very different on different channels, right? You're talking about a product that's not even available on a quick commerce platform or an e-commerce platform, right? But that's not the case with us.
But do you think certain products are more channel specific or more channel friendly? For example, a
Yeah.
toothpaste someone may not want to buy from your website, but they possibly want to buy the brush from your website because there the personalization option is available, but a toothpaste is more quick commerce friendly.
That's true. That's true for us, and we've seen that over the course of our journey. Certain products are more, there's a more channel product fit, a term that we use
Correct.
very often internally. So a toothpaste has a more channel product market fit on a quick commerce platform. A flosser has more channel product fit on a Amazon, whereas an electric toothbrush has a more channel product fit on our own brand.com because of the personalization, etc.
Okay, wonderful. And just like learnings on getting listed on quick commerce is something that a lot of brands today are struggling with. Any hacks around it or something that worked out for you?
Yes, there were hacks that worked out for us, but at the same time, it also took us fair bit of time to get listed. And this is when
When
I
you
would
say that, is that 12 months or more?
give or take 12 months. I think realistically it took us about 10 months to get listed. And in terms of hacks,
Is one channel easier? That, for example, if you've cracked like Instamart or maybe you've cracked a Blinkit or a Zepto, then you can create FOMO among the others saying that we're kind of listed here and why don't you also place it?
I don't think so that works, honestly. I feel people and category managers across all the platforms are looking at data very, very closely. They're looking at Nielsen reports, they're looking at Amazon, they're looking at, and they all, like, the information is available across platforms, right? Because there's constant shuffling of people from one platform
Correct.
to another platform. So you
Correct.
know how much is that brand selling on a particular platform or so. I don't think so that FOMO works. But in terms of hacks, like, I think we were very persistent. One was that hack. Like, we would just email them, and reach out to different POCs every now and then at regular intervals.
And how would you find these people? Is it through LinkedIn search or just through your founder network of just saying, how did you get listed? Can you put me in touch with your category manager who's probably not for your category, but you use them as a warm channel to kind of be introduced?
So we've done everything. We've used LinkedIn, we've used founder network. I've also used my investor network to get introductions. So different channels to get an introduction. I've also written cold emails, and I've been fortunate to get replies from the founders of these quick commerce platforms when the needle was not moving at all. And I was talking about, we were in the phase 2 of getting listed. So one was phase 1, where when these quick commerce platforms just started out and they onboarded a bunch of brands. That was not when the other brands were lining up to get listed. Phase 2 was, there was some awareness, there was some consumption. A few brands wanted to get listed and they were being listed. So we were in the phase 2, but still it was a 10-month kind of a gestation period for us.
Wow.
And now I think it's a phase 3 or a phase 4, when it's become really, really tough to even get time of the day of a category manager, no matter which investor is introducing or which founder has referred you, because it is a power dynamic, right? Quick commerce platforms have become very powerful, and they can choose to ignore and they can make you wait.
So I'm assuming that today, if any person decides to import a product from China, something in electronics, they do it as SKD, they assemble part of it in India, they comply with BIS and everything, and now it's about customer acquisition. So from a long-term perspective, content will help to build brand awareness, loyalty, brand love.
Yeah.
And then early on, when you want sales, you're essentially, I'm assuming, going by some arbitrage opportunity that you don't see too many players listed on an Amazon or a marketplace. And you're betting on the fact that people who are searching for it today have just one or two brand options, and I could be the third option and look cooler or perform better or be better priced, and people would buy it. Do you think this is the right way to go about it? Or would you say, to start off from a distribution perspective, do it from your own brand website as performance marketing and then look at a marketplace? Today, having gone through this for the past 4 years, what's the playbook you would recommend?
I would recommend if you're truly building a product that's innovative, that's highly differentiated, uh, and there is not much search on the respective marketplace platforms, right? You have no option but to do the latter of going down the brand.com route and advertising and creating that product awareness, brand awareness, and over a period of time, you will start seeing searches happening for the products that you're advertising. But if you're launching or introducing something that's, I would say, marginally differentiated to what's already out there, there's a lot of captive demand that exists, right? Then I feel being available across different platforms where there's a lot of consumption happening, you have to be there. And you need to have a brand.com as well, but your focus should be making sure that you're ranking up higher on those platforms, you have the right relationship, you have the right insights, so that your business starts moving.
So, how do you rank up higher? Like, for example, if Amazon, you want to rank up higher, do you think today the stage your brand is at and
Hmm.
how big an Amazon is,
Hmm.
the only way to rank higher is right images, right reviews, right ratings, and then putting in advertising money? Or is there something else? Do you think relationships still work in today's day and age? If you want to rank higher on an Amazon, you have a personal relationship with the category manager that you build. Do you think that will help or not really?
It'll help. It's a good to have, not a must have. And at a certain stage and scale, it can have, I would say, exponential benefits for your business. So, for example, internal people at all these marketplaces have access to backend data, right? So,
Hmm.
for instance, let's pick Amazon as a example. uh, I'm selling something and I'm selling everything via something called as FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, right? So
Correct.
I'm stocking my products in Amazon warehouses.
Hmm.
Now, the internal Amazon guy would know what does my stock level look like for a certain product,
Hmm.
right? And if there is any incoming shipment that's been scheduled or not. Let's say I'm selling 100 units a day and I have about 500 units in stock of that product and there are no shipments scheduled. If I want to push another brand, I can give an insight that the inventory of this brand is almost going to get over. They will go out of stock. So there is a
Hmm.
significant chance for you to scale up and start ranking higher, advertise, build more visibility, because Amazon's algo uh, seriously penalizes when your product goes out of stock.
Oh, is
Right?
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's an opportunity for a competitor to rank up higher.
Hmm.
Right?
Do you think this information is
Classified.
classified or ethical to have?
It's part of the relationship. Nobody's putting on a piece of paper, right? It's a relationship thing, that if you're saying that, okay, hey, I want to grow, and the guy on the other side of the table likes you and is feeling that you're the right guy to push this through, and you can sort of grow the business in a way that will eventually benefit Amazon as well, because your
Sales
Amazon's,
are going to be larger for the platform. They make
yeah,
higher commissions.
yeah.
Wonderful.
So I think it's part of the business. There's nothing unethical as such.
Do you also use any tools like a SEM Rush or a Jungle Scout to look at search trends, or is
We
it
use
more
helium 10.
Helium? Okay, you
Yeah,
use Helium 10.
yeah.
Wonderful. And you have a dedicated team which is constantly looking at Helium 10 and looking at like search volumes and looking.
I do it myself as well.
Oh wow. And do you also place ads on competitors' names and other competitors place it on your name? Have you seen that happen?
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's a common practice across the industry. Very,
Hmm.
very common.
Yeah. So if someone searches for Perfora, what are the competitors which will show up on quick commerce?
You'll see a Colgate, highly likely, or a Sensodyne bidding against us.
Okay. And when that happens, like you're in a category where all your competitors are like easily more than 10x your size.
Yeah.
what kind of risks does it really bring? Because the reason I would think it's very difficult for any other person to enter this category is because you would think I'm competing against the largest. Now, it's also an opportunity, but it also means either you need a great deal of capital, and I know you've raised about 4 rounds of
Yeah.
about 80 crores in total.
Yeah.
So if someone today does not have access to that kind of capital, would you say don't get into this? Absolute unbiased view, not to say creating
Yeah.
competition for you, but
I think it's difficult. See, my view and my sense is not about capital, right? I feel less capital and you can still make a good business, a good brand. That is doable. But you have to choose the category and the problem that you're going to solve very, very carefully. Spend enough time thinking about the problem, thinking about the how the category is evolving, how the consumption in that category is evolving, right? If like to give you a sense, I feel and what I'm observing and what I'm learning, skincare and hair care as categories are they have massive tailwinds, right? So the opportunity to launch and opportunity to grow a business is there. Even though the competition is a lot more, it's a lot more cluttered. There's no one clear leader like with 50% or more market share. But there's an opportunity to do because the category has a lot of tailwinds, right? A lot of people are willing to upgrade, willing to try, willing to experiment, willing to add more products to their personal consumption, etc. In oral care, there are no such strong tailwinds, and hence, with very little capital, if you can't invest upfront on the brand front, it is going to be a tough task to get to serious scale. And I think I can't call ourselves that we are at a serious scale, but we are at a decent scale, right? We're getting there, right? It's a
correct.
We've been able to move the needle. We've been able to get to a double-digit market share in the online world of things within our category, right? So even to get here is a accomplishment to some extent. But at the same time, I feel oral care is a tough category with no such tailwinds, and hence you have to be really, really cautious of what you're signing up for.
Thanks, Jatan. This has been amazing. I know you've been very kind to sit under the spotlight in this dark room, which is why we call it In the Den. But the focus of the episode was to extract maximum insights possible for anyone who wants to start a consumer business in India where they would require to import products from China. That, and I think you've been very kind to the founder community and for anyone who wants to start up by giving all your insights and learnings. So thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much, Sarthak, for having me over.